Hi there. Welcome to Cooking and Gardening a la LaLa. If you were with us last week and the week before, thank you for tuning back in to see episode 3. If this is the first time you found Cooking a la LaLa, please check out the previous episodes 1 and 2 on YouTube, Facebook, or the Horizon Theater's website, horizontheater.com. There you can find the episodes and the recipes, and those are the building blocks for what we're doing in this and future episodes. Y'all enjoy. Hey everybody, welcome back to Cooking and Gardening a la LaLa. We are back at the garden and we're going to harvest some turnips and some kale for our menu today. Look around here. You can see how pretty our flowers have gotten since we were out here last. That's larkspur and another flower called Love in a Mist. We'll get some of those and take them home for our flower arrangement for the table. Okay, look, these are our turnips. You can see through here, they're like little Easter eggs waiting to be plucked from that greedy child who's trying to get it from you. Whew, isn't that beautiful? I almost don't want to let it get that big. I'm just going to come through and pick some of these that might be getting too big. And what we're going to do here, you see these are the beautiful turnip root. And then here are our delicious greens that are so good. We're going to saute those up with some garlic and chili flake. Ooh, look at this bad mammer jammer. All right, I want to get a few more. And this here, look, is our zinnias coming up and some dahlias we planted for the first time this year. And also, I want you to see this. We planted these beans, about a week or 10 days ago. And see, these are just coming up. This is coming through. Look, this guy here, he's just trying to break free. It's really fun when you catch them this early. This one's just coming out of the soil. So in a couple of days, maybe 5 or 6 days, this whole row will be sprouted with beautiful bush beans. I do want to say, I hope everybody is staying safe and sane and not losing their minds. Who knows how much longer this is going to go on, but let's just keep eating good food and staying in good health. I like to clean these off while we're here out at the garden so I don't bring all of this dirt into the sink at home. I'm going to put these in our little basket. And down here, this beautiful kale. I'm just going to tear a few leaves off. You can see here this is a really thick rib. I'm going to cut this off. I'll show you that when we get home. Unless you're going to cook it, for hours and hours, you want to cut that rib out. But if you're going to do it like you do collard greens and you cook it, you don't need to cut the rib out. But if you're going to have it fresh, like in salad, I like to cut that rib out. It's a little chewy, a little tough. Boop, boopy doo. Okay, while we're here, I want you to see these beautiful flowers. I believe these are larkspur. That's what I've always said. Here's that dark purple and a lighter purple. And here's a pink one that we have. I'm going to cut a little bouquet. And then all of these are going to come up. These are the first to emerge. But all of these down here, it looks like a bed of weeds. But this is a lot of... Well, it is. It is a bed of weeds, but there are a lot of beautiful flowers in it. So I'm pulling out all the grasses and weeds so that the seeds that I planted a couple of weeks ago will have room to grow and get the sunlight and become beautiful flowers for my table. Okay, so I had a great idea this year. See, this is our cucumber trellis, and these are the posts that hold up the fencing for the trellis. I have planted cucumbers, sunflowers, in front of each of these posts. And you can see here's one of them that is sprouted. I'm going to pull these weeds up while I'm down here. You just cannot ever stop weeding. Oh my goodness, it goes on and on. But see, here is a cucumber sprout. There's another cucumber sprout. But what's going to be fun, we'll come here in another month maybe. I don't know if it'll take that long or longer, but hopefully there will be sunflowers in front of each of these posts, and in between the sunflowers, the cucumbers will be crawling up. So it'll be green, yellow, yellow, green, yellow, yellow. I should get Bubba Carr to choreograph something for me. Okay, so now we're going to prepare a recipe that I love for beef short ribs / boneless chuck roast. I'll get to that. This was a recipe in the New York Times cooking section, Allison Roman's recipe, and it calls for beef short ribs, which you can see here. They're gorgeous, they're lovely. I have a little bit of a problem with beef short ribs, only because these are $6.99 a pound, which isn't horrible, but a lot of what you're paying for is this bone and then this fat, which you're just gonna remove. These happen to be pretty nice. Don't those look pretty beefy? But a lot of times you get them, there's just more fat, there's more. So I really love the boneless chuck roast to do the same thing. It is beautiful if you braise it for a long time. It's tender, it falls apart, it's wonderful. So I am going to salt and pepper both of these. And ideally, you will let them sit as long as 48 hours in the refrigerator after you've salted and peppered them. For the purposes of this episode, I'm just gonna let them sit on the counter for about an hour, and then we'll get to work on them. So, okay, so you can see we have our meat that has been very generously seasoned with salt and pepper. And like I said, you can leave them on the counter for an hour, or you can leave them in the fridge covered for up to 48 hours. I always think the more is better. But what we're gonna do is come over here and sear this meat in a big pot that has some canola oil. And what we wanna do here is just get some color and then render some of this fat. And I'm gonna do this big boy separately. Back to the reason that I have mixed feelings about the short ribs. The meat is so delicious, and when you have them in a dish like this where there's a gravy, it's so much richer because all of the bone and collagen in these ribs. Whereas this boneless piece of meat, I mean, it's got some fat, it's got a little connective tissue here, but it doesn't have any bone. So I like to use a combination. Okay, so you can come in here and see that these are browning, getting some color, and we're getting some color. Also those yummy bits that are sticking to the bottom of the pan. You don't want those to burn, but we're gonna leave those in there, and when we add our liquids, we're gonna scrape those up, and that's just gonna build more and more flavor for the finished product. But yeah, we're just gonna keep on cooking these, and I'm gonna take these out and put them on this plate right here, and then I'm gonna add the chuck and brown that. I've taken these pieces of meat out, and now we have this piece of chuck that's browning in here. It's got some nice color, and I'm gonna give it another flip. Let's see what this other side looks like. Big strong muscles, strong like ox. So yeah, so there's some real pretty color there, and I'm gonna take this out, get rid of some of the fat that's rendered from these two batches of meat, and then we're gonna add our aromatics. And one of the things I love about this recipe is the prep part of it is really simple. It calls for 2 onions, quartered, not diced, not chopped, quartered. So that takes all of 10 seconds, 5 seconds to get your onion cut in quarter. 2 heads of garlic, quartered. And this, if you were using this many heads, ooh, look at those fatties. Mwah. I've never seen a clove of garlic that big. Anyway, you don't have to go through the trouble of peeling them and pounding them and mincing them and chopping them. It's rough, it's peasant. So I'm going to put these in here, and we're going to let our onions and garlic get a little color. Okay, so here we are. We have our onions and our garlic. Here's that cute one. There's 3 big cloves. So look, all this great color, that golden color. See, these onions have some beautiful color. So now what we're going to do, and like I said from the very beginning, color is flavor. Now we're going to add this honey. It's about 3 tablespoons of honey. We're going to get that in there. That gives it some sweetness. And you see it's boiling furiously. Furious. Like an actor who didn't get the part. Just awful. See that fury? All right, now we're going to add our apple cider vinegar. Love that sound. Love that color. Here's some soy, tamari. All right, so we're going to let these cook down. This is going to be about 5 minutes. And now is when you want to scrape up. Oh, that vinegar just gave me a... Woo! Thank you for this award. I really appreciate all the love you've given me. I'm just kidding. Scrape up all the stuff that's sitting at the bottom of the pan, those little brown yummy bits. You want to scrape that up. All right, so we're going to let this reduce about 5 minutes on, I'll turn the heat up a little bit, medium heat. Okay, so you see this has gotten a little thicker, a little syrupy, and a lot of these cloves have fallen out of their little shells. Okay, so that's bubbling nicely. Now I'm going to add in a quart of chicken stock, homemade chicken stock. You see some of our lovely schmaltz on there. Okay, and I'm just going to, it's just, I don't know, 4 things at a time. Who measures anymore? Just throw it in. Be free. Okay, so we're going to let this chicken stock, it won't take long because it's been kind of at room temperature, almost at room temperature. We're going to let that heat up a little bit, and then we're going to add the meat back in and put it in the oven and forget about it. All right, we've added the big piece of chuck, and now I'm putting these ribs in bone side up. All right, now I'm going to put some of these vegetables. Ooh, look, still together after all this time. I've never seen such a head of garlic in my life. Okay, now, so we've got all of our meat in. What I'm going to do, just to make sure this stays moist, I'm going to add almost a cover. And just for grins, a little bit more pepper. Cover it up, and we've got a 300-degree oven. We're going to put it in there for 3 hours, and then we'll check it. If it needs more time, we'll give it more time. If it's ready, it's ready. Okay, it's been 3, maybe 3.5 hours, and we're ready to take the beef. Yeah, I had to do a costume change. I got tired of all those girdles and corsets and what have you. I don't have any of that on right now. All right, I'm taking this out. There'll be an exuberance of steam. Okay, so let's see how, oh yeah, okay. So you can see the bone is just, has already fallen out of this one. That's one of those 4 beef short ribs. And this is that beef chuck. And look, it's just falling apart. You've got that beautiful, it's still red. It's not like gray meat that you think of when you cook meat for a long time. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this out of here. We're going to put some pajamas on it. Just kidding. We're going to put it into this little plastic what have you. And we're going to chill it overnight. Yeah. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to dump all of this. Look at that beautiful tender meat. All these bones are just falling off these ribs. That bone is still in there. I'm going to strain this liquid over this and chill it. We'll see you in the morning. All right, when last you saw me, I was in my pajamas getting the hot, slow-cooked beef out of the oven, and it is chilled. And what I'm going to do now, you see how the fat has formed this solid crust. And I know I should have a better explanation about why I'm so crazy about chicken fat, but I want to get rid of this. I don't know how to explain it, people. It's a mystery. But anyhow, we're going to go through and I'm going to remove all of this. Okay, all the meat is out of its chilling cradle and into this vessel that we're going to be warming it back up again. I wanted to show you what I mentioned earlier about having a little trouble with the beef short rib. The meat is wonderful, the flavor is delicious, but it's got this connective tissue, I guess you call it, which is wonderful for the texture of our sauce. There's a lot of collagen in all this, and this is where the bone was sitting. The bone slid right off after that long, slow cook, but we're left with this connective tissue that's really kind of rubbery, and it doesn't, I don't find it very pleasing in the mouth, but so it needs to be cut away. But what I want to do before we put this whole thing in the oven, we'll see if I can do this without making a complete mess. This could be a comedy here in a moment. Is I want to strain some of this sauce, because this is full of that yummy garlic and onion and thyme and honey and vinegar. So you want to put this back in here so you have some nice moisture in this pot for these lovely pieces of meat to heat back up in. And what I'm gonna do, that's gonna be right up there to the top, people, is press on these solids to get some more of that flavor out. Okay, so we're gonna put it back in the oven at 350. I'll probably have it in there for an hour, maybe an hour and a half. You can't really leave it in there for too long. And we'll have this wonderful meat in this delicious gravy. And we're gonna serve it over turnips and potatoes mashed with some horseradish. The turnips came out of the garden. And we're going to saute some turnip greens that were at the tops of the turnips and some kale, because we had a bunch of kale at the garden. We're gonna do that, and that's going to round out our meal. It's gonna be delicious. The clock has struck. It's time to fill the jelly jar. And I have a very helpful hint for you out in social media land. When your bladder starts to get a little bit low, you separate it from its heavenly home, you pull the bladder out, and then you do this. Now that's how you fill a jelly jar. Cheers. Okay, so like I said, we are doing a potato and turnip mash to go with our beef. These are turnips that we grew in our garden, and I've quartered them. I will continue to quarter them. And we have some potatoes here that we've peeled and cut into pieces. You want your pieces to be roughly about the same size so they'll cook at the same rate. I think it's okay to leave a little bit of skin on there. It adds some visual interest, which I think is a good thing. So it's not just this bland white anodyne dish. And now we're just gonna put all of this in a pot of salted water that's gotten warm awfully quickly. And I'm gonna put a bay leaf in here. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna boil that until they get soft so that you can stick a knife into it and it comes in and out really quickly. Something else that we have here, these are the tops of the turnips. The turnip was down here. The greens were up here. I love these. My husband is not so crazy for all of this, but I thought I might try something different tonight and roast these separately, get the bottoms all golden. I'll put these in some schmaltz and do them on the stovetop and then put them to finish in the oven. Now we're going to prepare our greens, our turnip greens and our kale. One thing about kale, it has a very thick, sturdy rib down the middle. And unless you're gonna be cooking them a long time, like you do, or like I do when I'm cooking collard greens, I'll take the rib out. But the turnip green does not have such a, its rib is much more tender. So I leave that on. And I like the texture that it adds. So I'll just give this a rough chop, and then I'll go through and I'll give the kale a quick chop. Okay, so now all of our greens have been chopped, although I missed this one. I'm just gonna tear this one by hand. So we've got, I don't know, 4 or 5 cups of turnip greens, 4 or 5 cups of kale. This is all gonna cook down. What we're gonna do is get some of our schmaltz and put it into a pan to melt. And it's gonna sizzle a lot like that. You can probably hear that beautiful sound. That's because there's still a lot of liquid in there. I'm gonna move this over here. And here's our garlic. You saw that wonderful head of garlic we had when we were preparing our beef. This was not such a noble beast as that one was. So if you want to get the skin off your garlic, you just smash it a little bit and the skin loosens up. And we're just going to give this a rough chop. I do always recommend, if you have it, to use fresh garlic. Garlic powder is fine if you need it. But I like to give it a rough chop so that there's some little pieces and there's some big pieces that remind you that you're alive. Oh, goodness. So we're gonna put it in this hot pan. Hopefully that's all melted. It's not too hot that it's making a big scene. And I've got some chili flakes we're gonna put in. That is a lot of garlic for 2 people to eat for dinner tonight. But this is how you gotta live. I'm gonna put a little bit more schmaltz in there just so it has a lot of fat. And also I have put some schmaltz in here, and we're gonna put our turnip tops in there to brown. And I'm also gonna get out some of our chicken stock to add after we get all of our greens in, so that'll help the greens steam and cook down. And so that will be what we do next. After our garlic browns, we're going to add the greens. Okay, so we have our kale greens in, and I'm going to add some of this chicken stock. Listen to that sizzle, it's gorgeous. It's amazing how much greens cook down. And now we have enough room in the pot for our kale greens and stems. And I'm going to season this with a little salt. And I'm going to give it, and look at our beautiful little turnip heads, getting that gold color. I'm going to move the pan around so these over here, but how delicious. And we'll put them in the oven, and they'll finish. I cannot believe I had this idea. Use it up, people. Don't throw it out. If you do throw it out, compost it. Cheers. Okay, I'm really proud of this. These are the turnip heads, turnip tops, and I've browned them here. And again, this is the very first time I've tried this. But I've flipped them over so the bottoms don't get too brown, and that maybe they'll act as their own little steamer once I put them in to the oven. I'm going to give these little cute little bottoms a tiny bit of salt. And I'm going to put these in here with the beef, below the beef. And we'll just see what happens. This could be the greatest thing since boxed wine. And you can see already how these greens are cooking down and cooking down. I was going to cover it, but I think I'm going to keep it uncovered so that some of this chicken stock cooks down a little bit. I may Put a little vinegar in there just to give it some interest. We'll definitely finish it off with some lemon, a squeeze of lemon, because greens love lemon. And we'll taste it to make sure there's enough salt and pepper before we serve it. But how good does that look? And it came straight out of the friggin' frackin' garden. My goodness, this is amazing. It's dinner and a facial treatment. Okay, so we have drained our turnips and our potatoes, and I've heated up about a 1/4 cup of heavy cream and a couple of tablespoons of butter, salt, and the secret weapon. I think when you're having beef, horseradish is wonderful. Should I put more? Tom likes a lot of horseradish. Give it some pepper. And then you just mash it with your handy masher. And then we're gonna finish it with some chives. One of my favorite ways to do turnips is to quarter them or have them, and like we did with those tops, and get them golden and then flip them and crispy, and they're delicious, but they don't hold a lot of sauce the way a mashed potato or a turnip mash. I want to give this a little taste. Man, that's almost perfect. I'm just going to chop up these. It's really good. It's just the right amount of horseradish. And the chives add a nice flavor, a nice kind of oniony tang. And again, this is a theme. I like the visual interest. My mother always had, we put parsley on our plates. Even a mundane tuna casserole with the dreaded peas in it, she would have a sprig of parsley in there just because it made it more beautiful. So I'm gonna fold these in so I don't destroy the chives. And I don't think we do need any more cream or butter. It would taste really good. You could also use sour cream or cream cheese. And if you don't do dairy, I don't know what to tell you. But isn't this beautiful? You see a little bit of those red skins and the beautiful chive. And that's gonna be a great mattress for our meat. And then we'll have the greens, and some of the pot liquor from the greens will also swim in this pool. It's gonna be delicious. Okay, we're ready to plate. So delicious. All right, here are our turnip and potato mash. Steaming goodness. And here we have our greens. Not a whole lot of pot liquor. I'll let a lot of that chicken stock steam off. And here, pièce de la résistance. And I'm sure I'm going to be dripping some juices, but look at that. That's the chuck. How gorgeous. Look at that beautiful meat. And I'm going to put that here. Scrape away that little bit of connective. Ah! I'm dying. Okay, and then let's find a little piece of rib meat in here. There's that. Okay, and I've got a little gravy ladle. We're gonna, remember like when you went to the cafeteria? So we'll get some of this yummy, rich cooking liquid here, braising liquid. I think that's enough. And then what I think is truly the masterpiece of this meal, we'll call it a garnish. But these are the little turnip tops that have such lovely color, top and bottom. I'm just gonna put those here, there, and yonder. And just so my mother will be proud of me, I'm gonna give this a little squirt of lemon, because you want your greens to have some lemon. And then tearing off a corner, not using the whole paper towel, just a corner. Always make sure your plate is presentable. I'll put that right there. All right, how about that? That's a damn fine meal. And another thing about this menu, Roscoe loves it, and he can eat off of a fork. What What a civilized beast. I will go get a new fork. Thank you so much for watching episode 3 of Cooking a la LaLa. I hope you enjoyed what we did in the kitchen and in the garden. And if this is the first time you've seen the show and you're interested in knowing what we did in episodes 1 and 2, those shows are archived at horizontheater.com, as are the recipes. Come back next week, same time, 11 o'clock on Saturday, 11 o'clock Eastern. And we will be having a veg-centric menu, starting again at the garden, using some of our lettuces and tomatoes. So hope you come back and see us next week.
For more information and to download all the recipes that you've seen on this episode of Cooking a la LaLa, please visit horizontheater.com.
We're here today to present this week's winner, Linda Sherbert, with the 2 quarts of homegrown, home-canned tomatoes. Linda, thank you, thank you, thank you.
I am so thrilled to be here. I feel so honored, so fortunate to inherit these from you. I love her cooking show. I love Horizon Theater. Jeff and Lisa Adler founded a great theater so many years ago. I remember when they founded it.
Amen.
And I know you've been in a lot of productions there, and audiences love you.
Oh,
and,
you're sweet. Thank you.
We really miss going to all the stage shows since the theaters are closed for the pandemic. Okay, so I'm going to take this off so I can maybe, should I?
Take it off and
take it off.
Yeah.
Okay, so I can do this maybe slightly better. All right, here we go. Miss Cochran so richly deserves praise for her tomato preserves. I bet she could cook without help from a book. Veal marsala a la LaLa.
That's great.
But who needs veal when you've got fresh veggies in your garden? And I was trying to figure out what rhymes with veggies, and I'm afraid all I could come up with was wedgies. And I didn't want to go there. And then I thought, well, maybe I should mention the virus, but then all I could think of was Miley Cyrus. And I didn't want to go there either. But I wanted a second stanza to acknowledge that the theaters are closed, but we hope that they're open by the holidays.
Yep.
So here we go again, bear with me. By Christmas, I hope you are back on stage, 'cause we love how you act. It's been a tough year. We all need more cheer. Fa la 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 la, a la la la. I'm not a singer. Thanks for the Tom. You are the bomb.
Thank you, Linda.